pushing film here. My name is Nick.
And I'm Hashim.
So a few weeks ago, Eric came to Melbourne. He actually held a workshop right here, right in Slater Street Bench in Melbourne.
Slater Street Bench Cafe, Circular Road.
Yeah, so he had a concrete reviews workshop. We learned a lot, and I'm sure for you guys out there, you actually have a lot of questions that you'd like to ask Eric.
Yeah, I think Eric's been running concrete review workshops for quite a while. He's an international street photographer. I'm sure you've probably heard of him if you're here watching. So we asked him about tips for street photographers,
Inspirations,
film a little bit. Yep.
And where to start, how to put yourself out there, how to treat criticism.
Yeah, we talked a bit about social media and curating your work. And he has some really good advice, I think. So I think you guys will enjoy watching this, whether you're film photography enthusiasts or not. So enjoy the interview.
All right. So, what are your thoughts of Australia like so far?
Dude, it's actually really good to be back here in Australia because I'm currently based in Hanoi in Vietnam. And before I left, it was so hot in Vietnam, and just the thought of bringing a jacket was just so foreign to me. And coming back here, it's nice. I love the weather, and I forget, especially being in Melbourne, it's such a good city for street photography, especially around the city, near the H&M, the whole, like, what's it called? Brook Street?
Yeah, in Swanston Street, around that
Swanston
small
Street,
block
that
over
little
there.
small little block, and lots of action on people in the streets, a lot of great faces in Federation Square, and just the people here are just so pleasant and lovely, and of course, the coffee. I'm a big bench lover, so definitely hit up 580 bench and which bench is this?
This is a 580 bench.
This is 580 bench
yeah.
and the other bench, but just love being here in Australia / Melbourne.
Nice. What do you think about, like, we got Film Never Die coming up. My mate Hashim works in Michael's camera, says that there's more and more young people actually bringing their cameras in and actually don't know how to operate, and says like, well, what do I do with this film camera?
Yeah.
And more people are actually investing money in this analog cameras and exploring that, romanticy. What do you think? What do you think analog will be in the future, and not only just in Australia but worldwide?
Yeah, I mean, I think the great thing about shooting film in Australia, I mean, granted, film here is a lot more expensive than it is back in the States. But the benefit is that there's so many wonderful resources out there, especially, Film Never Dies is just one of the groups, but I think there's a lot of other resources out there that I personally don't know of. And it's definitely a lot more accessible, you and Hashim developing at home and also, finding a place to scan it. And I think the great thing about shooting film, especially for beginner photographers or even young photographers, is that it really helps you appreciate the process more. And probably the biggest thing I learned through shooting film is how much more I appreciate digital photography for just really the magic that it is, the fact that the workflow and the process is so easy and fluid. And I also feel that for me, photography is kind of like the Zen meditative process where shooting film helps me slow down, helps me pre-visualize my shots because I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to get. And also there's that sense of serendipity where I'll shoot tons of film. I usually wait a few months, sometimes even a year or two before getting a process. So by the time I look at my film, I've forgotten taking half the photos.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's kind of like this exciting thing, you're kind of like a kid at Christmas opening up his or her presents. And so I feel that regardless if you decide to stick to film or shoot digital, I feel like every photographer should at least shoot film at least once or twice, or else they're not really going to appreciate photography for what it is.
So right now, currently, what kind of, let's say if I shoot film and I develop it, and let's say if I don't bring it to the darkroom and print, and I bring it to the hybrid process.
Yep.
What do you suggest for new photographers that really want to take it seriously? Do you suggest them to go social networks, or what platform do you reckon is probably the best to actually put your work out there and reach maximum audience?
I mean, it seems that the best way to, if you've never really shot film before, easiest is just pick up the cheapest $10 35mm camera you can get at a garage sale or just a flea market, and just shooting it, even just sending it to Michael's or any other place, and just getting it processed and scanned for you before you decide to invest in the scanner yourself. And when you're starting off, you just need very simple minimalist gear. I mean, with 35 mil, everything is full frame. And one thing I recommend people to do more is printing their work and sitting down with other photographers, having a cup of coffee, and getting feedback and critique that way. For maximum exposure, I mean, it seems that at the moment Instagram is the best, but I think nowadays I think if you really want to improve your photography, it's less about exposure and getting feedback on social media, but actually spending less time on social media and once again printing out your work or carrying on an iPad or your phone, syncing on Dropbox or whatever. And once again, sitting down with other photographers face to face and actually getting honest feedback and critique on your work. Because social media is good for sharing images, but it's really not a good way to get real feedback besides getting like thumbs ups and likes and all that
favorites and followings.
And I think Instagram is going to be here for a while. What I recommend instead of investing in social media is rather own your own platform. So building your own portfolio website, your own WordPress blog, and preferably hosting it yourself. So getting your own domain name, your first name, last name, photo, and investing in yourself, because one of the regrets I have in my photography is I spent too much time marketing on Facebook and Twitter in the earlier days, and now people don't really use it all that much. But all the value I've created is more or less everything on the blog. So once again, create your own platform and own it.
Well, based on my experience with these 2 days in Melbourne, what you see on the camera on YouTube is what Eric truly is like. He's just been forever nice and loves coffee and just very generous person.
Until I start talking smack behind the camera once it shuts off.
Yeah, and I was really surprised. I personally thought that we all know what Eric Kim's street photography style is like, and I personally like a 50mm lens, and I was like, well, will Eric Kim personally recommends you should stop this style and just start using wide-angle lens and get close up? But actually, he says this is actually your style. I think you should work on it more. And this is something I really personally appreciated. All right, so if say I'm new and I start off street photography, what would you recommend me to start off with? Whether it's gear or shooting style or any just useful tips.
I think the first tip is don't buy a new camera. Honestly, if you have a DSLR, a point and shoot, an iPhone, just use whatever camera you have. Because I've wasted so much money in terms of buying new gear. And one thing I like to say is buy books, not gear. So all the money I invested in buying new photography equipment, I would rather invested that money into buying photography books, attending workshops, traveling. Another big piece of advice I would give is it's not about making great photographs. It's more about learning who you are as a human being. And I think photography shouldn't be about just, once again, making amazing images, but it's more about how do you connect with the world? Who are you as a human being? What are you trying to express through your images? And the problem about trying to copy other photographer styles is that you're trying to copy who they are as a human being. So, for example, Henri Cartier-Bresson, total introvert, didn't like his own photograph taken, super low-key, loved art and geometry, and that's why he shot that way. And he shot who he is. Similarly, Bruce Gilden, on the other hand, tough New Yorker, likes to talk to people, likes to get up and close, and he shoots who he is. And so that's probably the best piece of advice I would give, is that through your photography, of course, get inspiration from the masters of photography, but through your photographic process, in terms of how you shoot, try to shoot like who you are. If you're extroverted, don't feel like you have to shoot all your photos candid. Don't feel afraid to talk to strangers. If you're more introverted, it's okay to shoot from a little bit further away. There's really no right or wrong way of shooting. I do generally find that getting closer and getting more intimate helps you overcome your fears. And just because you're introverted doesn't mean you're not social. So even if you're an introverted photographer, ask for permission. Even if you're an extroverted photographer, sometimes it's good to shoot more candidly. But and the last thing is, before you travel, try to photograph your own hometown, your own home city well. Because I remember I was living in Los Angeles, a very interesting place. I'm just kind of bored, and everyone's bored of their own home city. And I always thought that once I went to Paris, I'd be like Henri Cartier-Bresson and
best shots
and all these beautiful Parisian people and the light and people jumping over puddles
Jumping over
and
puddles,
drinking
yeah.
espressos. And I get there and I was just massively disappointed because I overhyped it in my head and realized once again, most of my best shots were shot at home. So knowing that regardless of how boring of a place you are, use that as a challenge to make interesting photos wherever you live.
Great points, great points. Last question. Lately, like, on Instagram,
Yep.
everyone follows you, but you only have 8 posts so far.
Yeah.
And like, I know most of your shots just because you've been releasing those open source books. By the way, has been very helpful.
Oh, thank you.
And like, we don't really get new shots coming out, but you actually push more content on the interwebs, as in like blogging.
Yep.
And right now, do you consider yourself more like a blogger or like a street like photographer?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. To answer that question, I would just consider myself, I'm just Eric. I'm just Eric Kim. One thing I actually recently did to the blog is, it used to be titled like Eric Kim Street Photography Blog. And I think I still say that on YouTube because I'm like on autopilot at this point, to be honest. But I just kind of cut down the title just to Eric Kim Blog.
Yeah.
Because even at this point, I don't really see myself as a photographer. I don't really see myself as a blogger either. I see myself maybe at the end of the day more of a teacher. And not even a teacher, just a human being that I'm curious. I like to explore and see the world. And I don't really like definitions because it kind of traps you in terms of your creativity, in terms of what you want to produce.
What you can do.
Because sometimes people are, oh, Eric Kim is a YouTuber. I'm like, oh, I like making videos, but I don't like making them all the time.
Yeah.
Blogging is certainly one of my passions.
Yeah.
Street photography is one of my passions, but sometimes I like to photograph Cindy. Sometimes I like to photograph my food. I don't know, so like, am I a food photographer, right? But at the end of the day, I think education is really my passion and empowerment. So any form of art, I think photography just happens to be artistic media I'm most interested in, but at the end of the day, I'm more about empowering other human beings. So whether that's through photography or through my images or through my videos or through blog posts that I write. Yeah, I would say I'm in the business of human empowerment.
Good stuff. So Eric's leaving tomorrow. He's getting head to Sydney, and we're gonna have, when you go to Vietnam, you're holding another special workshop. Right?
Oh yeah.
Not Conquer Your Fear, something else, right?
Yeah. So I had an amazing time in Melbourne. I'm sure you guys watching who are Aussies know that I'm American. I'm saying Melbourne in a correct Aussie accent. You guys might appreciate that. Beautiful city. Just know if you're from here, you live in one of the best cities for A, coffee, and B, street photography. And thank you so much for showing me so much love while I'm here. I'm going to Sydney for a few days doing another workshop there. I'm doing this epic week-long workshop, which is like one of the most beautiful places for landscapes as well as kind of a travel experience. And the difference between this workshop and other workshops is not just street photography, but it's more of the whole experience. So grabbing great local food, meeting local people, having lots of strong Vietnamese iced coffee, and of course the photography behind it.
And that'll behind the scenes, the whole package.
That'll be mid-February in 2017. So just Google Eric Kim workshops, and I'm sure you can find it.
Seats are running low, eh?
It's
selling quick.
Selling quick, so get them while they're hot.
Yeah. All right. Once again, thank you very much. I'm with Eric Kim.
Yep.
This is from Melbourne.
Yep.
See you guys.
He answered a lot of your questions.
Yeah, he did, and I personally found that it was very interesting how he took himself as a street photographer or a personal blogger.
Yeah,
which is very, very interesting.
Yeah, because sometimes people get typecast, and he's really not a blogger or a street photographer, or
Yes. So
just weird.
I just find him very very open, and he is what he is, like what we normally see him online. And personally, I find him very inspiring, ever so kind, always pushing you out there, trying to get you more out of you, which is good in its own way. Yeah, which is very good in its own way.
We want to thank Eric Kim again for letting us do the interview, and it was great fun shooting with Eric on the streets of Melbourne.
Yeah, definitely. Next year we'll be expecting him again, and after this interview we actually have more interviews lining up. So please stay in tune, and if you like to see anyone or any comments or anything, please leave some comments beneath the video. And
any suggestions for future episodes, let us know. Once again, if you haven't seen our first episode, you can leave a link to that in the show notes. And if you like what you've been watching so far, subscribe, like, tell your friends, tell your dog.
So you can keep up to the latest.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.